Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom. Lecha Dodi. Likrat kala, Penei Shabbat. Nekabla, Lecha Dodi. Likrat kala, Penei Shabbat. Nekabla. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom umevorach. Boi kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala. Boi kala, boi kala, boi kala, boi kala. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, Penei Shabbat, nikabela.
Welcome to our services. As I was watching everybody coming in, I thought, when I started out in Minnesota, everybody had to wear a sport coat and a tie and to come to services. And a lot of people probably didn't want to come because they had to wear all that. And then in Denver, it was about the same thing. God forbid you show up. And I love this. I mean, we got blue jeans and we got ski outfits. I haven't put on a coat. Well, for high holidays, I do. We get all dressed up.
Yeah.
But it's so nice, and we're just glad to have you with us. That's the whole point of us being here. So we begin with the lighting of our candles. If someone would like to light for us.
I'll do the singing. You can just light.
Paul, we're going to get you to do it if you come in late. You never know. Thank you.
Yep. It's always good to have a new friend, right? That's what
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
May the Shabbat candles that we now light inspire us to see justly and gently, to look honestly and with kindness, and to see what's holy in each other. So we turn to page 4 in our prayer books, Hine Ma Tov, how good and pleasant it is for us to be together.
And it is extra wonderful after everything that we have gone through over the past couple of years that we are fortunate enough to be together in this space. So please take just a moment to say Shabbat Shalom or to introduce yourself to someone who's sitting nearby. Hine ma tov u'manayim shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shavet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shavet achim גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
I was just noticing on page 4 at the bottom of the page the picture that was taken in 1935, and it was entitled Two Girls from Mukachevo, Ukraine. So it all comes back to us of what was done then and what's happening now, and amazing to see a photo like this and wonder whatever happened to these two girls, which of course we would never know. Well, we do know. Let's turn in our prayer books to page 8. The bottom of the page, we'll continue with our family prayer. May we never take for granted the gift of Shabbat as we sit nestled in the Rocky Mountains, sharing this humble moment with family and friends. Celebrating Shabbat, hearten our spirits. Let Shabbat peace bring quiet to our souls. Allow this time set aside for song and prayer to bring us closer together in thoughts and deeds. Let this space we share become our place of devotion, glowing with reverence and filled with our tradition. May the end of this week encourage us to examine our actions and let us look ahead toward the new week, so we'll be worthy of all of God's blessings. The top of page 8 as we welcome the angels of peace and join together.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So I'd never want to spring anything on you.
Yes.
But as I was turning the page, we haven't done, would you like to do either of those?
Yeah, let's do L'chut Neronah. Why not?
The bottom of page 10, I always like that one. It's Psalm 95. It says, "Come sing praises to God, whose hands are the depths of the earth." It was supposedly composed by David, and according to legend, it says references in time to when they were wandering through the wilderness. L'chut Neronah, bottom of page 10.
L'chut Neronah, Yai Lai 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 Lai, L'Adonai, Yai Lai 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 Lai, Nariah, Yai Lai 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 Lai, Litzor Yisheinu, Yai Lai 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 Lai. Let us sing out to God, Maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation come to see. Hear our song. Lechu neranena. Yai lai 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 lai. La Adonai. Yai lai 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 la la la. Naria. Yai lai 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 lai. Litzor yishenu. Yai lai 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 la la la. For all of God's wonder and all of God's might, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. Lechu neranena. Yai lai 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 lai. La Adonai. Yai lai 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 la la la. Naria. Yai lai 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 lai. Litzor yishenu. Yai lai 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 la la.
I'm glad I asked. That was one of the songs that when I was at the seminary, and you'd have hundreds of rabbinical students sitting, and when you hear them, there's a tiny library synagogue, just the rocking of the noise of it happening. And it's one of the prayers, which is why I put it in our prayer book, that introduces the Sabbath for all of us. This next one is all about Vail. Page 12, as we lift our eyes to the mountains, from where does our help come? We join together with the cantor.
Esaina el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esaina el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim ba'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Esaina el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esaina el harim, me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz.
And I don't want to ignore all of you who are out there. We don't know where you are, but from California to Virginia Beach, we know that you're all over the place watching us. And it's just wonderful that we've been able to start streaming the service and include everybody here. Page 16 at the top of the page, as we welcome the Sabbath bride, will join with the cantor, Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmiyanu el hamyuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shemo tiferet b'litchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalai, alalai, 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha, ki mikor ha'veracha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קום יציא מתוך אפיך. רב לך שבט באמת הברכה, והוא יחמול עלייך, עלייך חמלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה.
The bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קלה, יאללה, 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 בני שבת נקבלה.
May be seated. It's a little Sephardic or Yemenite tune.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Top of page 21 as we continue responsively with Psalm 92. It is good to give thanks to you, O Lord, to praise your name through song, to speak in the morning of your loving kindness and your faithfulness each night, to the music of the lute and the harp, to the melody of the lyre. I'll sing with my delight. Continue the bottom of page 20.
Tzadikata mar yifrach, ke'eres bavanon yizkeh, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun beseva deshenim vera'ananim yihiu lehagid ki yashar Adonai Tzuri velo avlatavo.
As we turn to page 23 in our prayer books and go back to 1921 when Dr. Crane says and wrote his column, Just for Today,
Just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problems of life all at once.
just for today, I'll be unafraid of life and death, unafraid to enjoy the beautiful and be happy. People are as happy as they make up their minds to be.
Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today, I'll be agreeable, cheerful, charitable, do my best, praise people for what they can do, not criticize them for what they cannot do. And if I find fault, I'll forgive it and forget it. and I'll try not to improve nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I'll get people off my nerves and not get on theirs. I appreciate them for what they do and what they are.
Just for today, I will not show if my feelings are hurt.
I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, to realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God and get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the wonder of it. I will know that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
Thank you. I don't know why every so often I put a little more emphasis on just for today I'll get people off my nerves, but it just happens to be on every other Friday night where we happen to do that. Well, we turn to page 24 in our prayer books, and we will rise for our call to worship and join together in the Baruch Hu.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Vael HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Vael.
You may be seated. Well, the author of our prayer on page 28, we say, took the words from Moses and from Joshua. It was said over 3,000 years ago that when there is darkness, we pray that God provides protection. The top of page 28 as we join together.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha avta Torah u'mitzvot Chokim u'mishpatim Otanu lemadata Alkein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu Uvkumenu nasiach b'chukecha V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki ehem chayenu Ve'orech yameinu Uvahem negei yomam v'layla Negei yomam v'layla Ve'ahavatcha al tasir Mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael.
I bet you have a whole choir in the last back row there.
Oh, yes, we do. Ziva and Maya and Lila and Gabriel and Andreas are going to come and lead us in Shema.
Guys, come on up here. This way. We're coming this way. It's like handing it off in a relay here.
Come stand on the bima. Come right on this step right here. There you
We
go.
turn to page 30 in our prayer books.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Thank you. The best part is Malhuto. Thank you. Thank you.
ואהבת
את
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
The top of page 32, there is so much that we are grateful for. Each day, whether it's the beautiful sunrise, sunset, or just being out on the mountain, we'll continue the top of the page with gratitude. As the sun sets slowly behind the mountains of Vail, we gather together appreciative of the many gifts we enjoy. This Shabbat, amidst the peacefulness of these surroundings, let us no longer focus on that which we desire, but rather upon what we already savor, the quietness of the creek and the soft mountain air. We thank you each day for health of body, mind, and spirit. Let our daily actions reflect our gratefulness for our lives every moment with every breath. As we recite, family and friends, joyfully lift our voices in song, grateful to God who has given us the blessings of Shabbat. Middle of page as we join together, Micha Mocha.
Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai ya lai la lai lai yai lai ya la lai yai la lai lai ya la 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 lai mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nora tehilot oseh melech Nora tehilot oseh pelech Malchutecha ra'u banecha Ukei hayam lifnei Moshe Ze'eli anu ve'amru Ze'eli anu ve'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai Yai lai lai la lai la 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 lai Ya lai la lai lai yai lai ya la lai Yai la lai lai ya la lai lai lai
Well, on this Shabbat evening, we seek peace and comfort. So we ask that you shield us from hatred and destruction that plagues so many corners of our world and console those in need. So may God provide peace and comfort in the refuge of his wings. Protect us from the concerns and distress that keep us from thinking clearly. Our prayer, page 34 at the top of the page, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom
Mehamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Mehamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim Ushmor Tzitzeinu Uvoeinu Lechaim Ushalom Me'ata ve'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Lehamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Lehamidenu Malkeinu Lechaim.
We pray to you, creator of the universe, who causes the winds to blow and the seas to rage, for the weary, escaping violence and war and seeking a new home, which is safer on the ground which they stand, and clasping hands of their children, we hear their cries. Build for us a sukkah, a shelter of peace, tall enough to fit the weary and wide enough to feed the hungry, because we are blessed. For when it rains or it's too cold, we can go inside. But too many of our brothers and sisters fleeing from war-torn lands have no such shelter or safety. So Jewish tradition invites us to recall that our ancestors who set out on a journey to freedom, we will work to help those living, breathing, hurting people find a newfound freedom too. We return to our prayer books, page 36 at the bottom of the page, V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat Shabbat vayinafash.
The Birkat HaGomel prayer expresses our gratitude for the miracle of healing and the full restoration to one's health, to family, friends, and indeed the full restoration to life itself. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, gomel l'chayavim tovot sheg gimalani kol tov. May God, who bestowed kindness upon us, continue to bestow every goodness upon each of us and restore us to health. Well, there are those in our community who are in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. If you have a person in your life in need of healing, in just a moment, please feel free to share their name aloud as we move about the sanctuary. We continue the top of page 38, Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
We keep in our thoughts and prayers Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Linda Colin, Blanche Deutsch, Lynn Deutschman, David Fried, Jane Friedman, Betty Ann Gaynor, Deborah Goldman, Cliff Goldman, Don Graubert, Donald Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, and Herman Keek, Brian Kushner, Josh Marion, Renee Myers, Pedro Prince, Stephen Reese, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Bill Silvers, Bert Solomon, Lauren Solomon, Dina Stempler, Maury Strauss, Alan Tannenbaum, and Mickey Winokur.
Joyce Krasnow, Toba Weinstein.
Thank you.
Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We turn to page 40 in our prayer books and rise. We'll continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
Yitkada ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'amad divra kirtei ve'amlich malchutei.
B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecha Beit Yisrael Bagala uv'izman kariv
Ve'imeru
Yesh me'rabba mevarach Ve'alam ulameho maya Yitbarach
Yitzbarach v'yishtabach, Yitzbar v'yitroma b'naseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei dekudsha
Rechu
le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata.
Tishbechata v'nechemata Tamiram b'alma.
Ve'imeru
Amen. Be not afraid of silence. It's more powerful than the unpolished word. It allows God's voice to be heard, it allows tears and doubt to tumble out. The top of page 42, as we continue, Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. And then silently through page 57.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid teilatecha.
may be seated when you've completed the Amida. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, as we continue the middle of page 56. While watching the news, where that's all we can do these days, it's complicated for me because I was a history major in college. And we would study Ukraine, but we'd study it more from the Soviet perspective because unless we were studying it as historical fact at the seminary, we went back thousands of years to see the other side. Well, Jewish tradition teaches us the importance of one principle that I think has been so important these days and has been in the past. It's lo ta'amod al dam re'echa. Don't stand by the blood of one's neighbor. So as we turn on the news, and it can be just about any channel, we witness this nonstop coverage of Russia's cruel disregard for human life and for human dignity. And I think it's important to take a moment to understand more about the region, not what we're necessarily seeing on the news. So whether you're looking for a piece of what would be joyful Jewish history or the tragic kind, you'll find both in Ukraine. And that's why Jews should care about what's going on there, because of its history and the fact that many Jews still live there today. Now, Ukraine, although not considered to be holy to us in the literal sense, it's a home that holds such importance in Jewish history. I'm going to make a little switch because when I was talking to the cantor, we were talking about how to pronounce the different words. When you say the city of Kiev, that's the Russian word for the city. And you'll notice on the news they've all swapped and now they say Kiev, which is the Ukrainian pronunciation. So I think out of respect to them, we can call it Kiev tonight, even though where I visited was Kiev back in the old days. Well, the Jews have been in Kiev for about 1,300 years. And over the centuries, the Jews of Kiev they've had expulsions, they've had harassment and multiple pogroms, all at the hands of neighbors who just absolutely hated Jews. Now, Ukraine was the center of Jewish culture for thousands of years. And while it may not be considered kadosh or holy like we think of Jerusalem, in the biblical sense, places like Berdichev, which was the home of Rav Nachman of Berdichev, or Kishinev, these are holy towns. They were filled with pious Jews. Now, in the 17th century, There was a Ukrainian prince named Bogdan Khmelnytsky, and he did a dress rehearsal for the Holocaust when he killed 100,000 Jews. If you're to visit Kiev today, in the central square of the city, there's a statue, and it amazed me when I saw it, and it's a statue of a Cossack, Cossack Khmelnytsky, who led the Ukrainian uprising against the Polish-Lithuanian kingdom in 1648. And they kind of leave aside the mention that he also exterminated and killed 100,000 Jews. It's still there. In the 19th century, there were countless pogroms, yet despite their hardships, this vibrant Jewish community emerged. Ukraine is a country where you'll find the towns and the villages, they were packed with our ancestors. It was the heart of what was known as the Pale of Settlement. It was a zone created by the Russian Tsar, and he wanted to kind of corral in all the Jews into one geographical area. Then in the late 1800s, many of those Jews, some were our great-grandparents or our ancestors, well, they fled to America and to other free countries as the pogroms became even more unbearable. Well, those Jewish refugees who did not leave, yet they were fleeing into Poland, Western Ukraine, they resettled in Kiev, and by 1923, one-third of the city's population was Jewish. With Kiev being the birthplace, we've all heard of Golda Meir, 1898, and of course the home of the renowned Yiddish author Shalom Aleichem. Kiev was known at that time as the center of Yiddish culture until all who stayed behind were then murdered in the Holocaust. The few signs of Jewish life that remained and were destroyed by the Holocaust, nearly all of the city's 175,000 Jews perished in the Holocaust. 37,771 were executed in just 2 days in the notorious ravine of Babi Yar. That was the largest single massacre of the Holocaust. Then another 40,000 over time were slaughtered at a concentration camp that no one really hears much about. It was called Yanovska. It was Western Ukraine near Lviv. Well, at the end of World War II, Jewish refugees from across Ukraine, well, they streamed into Kiev. They tried to rebuild their shattered lives, but they couldn't because as you rebuild Kiev's life, the Soviet regime had taken over and they eliminated all religious freedom. Jews either hid or they shed their identities or actually became Soviets. Despite these restrictions, which were absurd at that time in the 1970s and 1980s, Kiev became the center of the Refusnik movement, which many of us were active in and heard about, fostering this underground, it's like a Jewish culture of pro-Aliyah advocacy. Now, in 1976, it was my first year of rabbinical school, and I, along with other students, were approached by the Israeli government. We had a knock on the door. Someone came to us, and they said, would you like to travel to Russia at the time, the Soviet Union? They gave us choices, and they asked if I would like to go with another student to Moscow, Kiev, Odessa, and Leningrad. We were there to meet with the Refusniks and deliver money and supplies. Well, being an absolutely stupid, naive, bulletproof student, I agreed immediately. And I said, what could they possibly do to any of us? So they put us on the Aeroflot planes, and we hid dollars in our shoes and medicine in our clothes, thinking that we were the James Bond of the days. But the experience was truly life-changing in meeting the Refusniks, a story for another time. But what I learned was what life was like under such an oppressive regime and how never to take for granted for life, our life of freedom. Well, with the fall of the Soviet Union, Jewish life in Kiev emerged from the shadows, and then the community began to slowly rebuild. Well, 25 years ago, we thought, those who remained were lost to the Jewish world. Many of the Jews living in Kiev today, most of them are living below the poverty line. The ongoing effort to help these Jews, while challenging, it actually is making a difference. The American Joint Distribution Committee, many of you have heard of it, is established in 1914, is active in more than 70 countries, provides aid to the Jewish communities around the world through a network of social and community assistance programs. The 1980s and 90s, over 1 million Jews left the Soviet Union, came to Israel, transforming both countries in many ways. Well, when I think about the phrase, bad things happen to good people, I thought about it in context of what's going on now. And we think bad things happen to good people for no apparent reason. We are witness to an apparent randomness of bad things happening to good people, the citizens of Ukraine. The estimated Jewish population between 200,000 or 500,000, they're not really sure, but they are fairly certain that over 50,000 depend upon the American Joint Distribution Committee's debit food cards that last, they say, 3 weeks out of a month with all that we're able to give them. And it's used to purchase basic monthly staples in the supermarket. Well, there's a lot of good people in Kiev throughout Ukraine, and they're suffering. And what I've learned over the years from Rabbi Kushner's book is when bad things happen to good people, we don't ask why. To turn a blind eye to the situation in Ukraine is a violation really of the deeply held Jewish beliefs and indeed basic human value for life. So as compassionate people as we are who are able to give, our concern and the answer to when bad things happen to good people should be how. How can I help those who suffer, and how can I personally make a difference? So all I ask is that you carefully read about the various organizations that are out there who are providing aid to Ukraine, and then lo ta'amod al dam re'echa, don't stand by the blood of your neighbor. You're to give generously. Now, we've all had an opportunity to learn more about Sheba Medical Center. And there's a lot of organizations out there, and they're doing great work, and I've been sending money to various groups. But they're doing serious medical work, and it's all being done virtually. I mean, they showed doctors and physicians, but they were doing all this stuff, and in Israel, they're diagnosing and solving the problems of the people that are injured. So there's many great organizations out there that are doing some incredible work. It was interesting when I was interviewing over 8 years ago. We talked about services, and they said, well, we don't do Friday night services. I said, why? It didn't make sense. They said, no one's going to come. I said, okay, then Janet and I will go, and we'll see what happens. And I can't imagine tonight if we had just shut the doors and there's a sign up there and it's dark in here. And everybody's wondering, where are services? Well, we don't have the luxury of saying, oh, we'll do it this week or that week. And then we did have the luxury a year later to say, well, I don't sing so great, so let's get ourselves a cantor as well. And it's wonderful. I mean, I wish I had this when we came here for 20 years and there was never a service. So I'm so grateful for all of you that have choices, and you could say, I'll go out for dinner at 7:30. Thank you for the reservation. We can go somewhere else a little bit later after services. If you don't have this, this is the beginning of summer through high holidays of all the things that are happening with the Book Havarah. This one that's coming up on, why doesn't it say that in here? April 14th is the first one. March 22nd? Oh, there's no way. It's pretty full. But it's incredible. It's not specifically about the Jewish people, but the connection is the Japanese internment camps in Colorado. And this is being read throughout Colorado as the one book chosen for everybody to read. I think it's going to be a fascinating discussion. And it's in the town is in the southeast corner of Colorado, and they're putting it back together. So you could actually see about the Japanese internment camps, which was a bad part of our history. But I think it'll be incredible to go see it. And Passover Seder kits, hard to believe that's so soon. Usually when it comes close to Passover, you can count on the grocery store to put out all the Hanukkah candles and everything else. So
we got Hanukkah candles, we got yahrzeit candles,
Right.
we got all the Jewish needs covered. And
But take a look at all the different things that we have listed. Janet put this together, and the font keeps shrinking smaller and smaller. But we do have these summer programs, and because the back is being renovated. We're going to different places for our Creekside services as well. But amazing things from the high holidays to other book clubs and speakers. And Purim Carnival.
Yes, we have a Purim Carnival coming up on the Friday after Purim. We will be, during services, we'll be reading the Megillah, and we encourage you to come in costume. At 5 o'clock that evening, we will start a Purim Carnival. We already have 5 different families signed up. We just put the call out a couple days ago, and we already have 5 families signed up to run games for us. And so if you would like to come, you're welcome to, and if you know any other families that would like to come, it's an event that's free and open to the community, and everyone is welcome, so we would love to see you there.
And we're just starting to publicize again a trip to Israel. So for those of you that we tried a couple years ago when COVID began and it just nothing was going to happen, so we're giving it one more try. This will be in October, but we have everything booked and planned, and I think everything's getting better as far as health. We just hope that it will. So please take this home with you. It's got the whole schedule through the summer, and we're going to be adding a lot more to it as it comes up. So we'll now return to our prayer books. Turn to page 60 as we rise and join together Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'teit gedula le'otzer bereshit, shelo asanu kilei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'ne'emar, V'haya Adonai, Lemelech al kol ha'aretz, Bayom hahu, Yeh Adonai echad, U'shemo, U'shemo echad.
At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance because a link has been broken in the chain that bound us together, yet strong bonds of home and love hold us one to another. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind those whose yahrzeit we observe the month of March. Madeline Brand, Selma Bronstein, Sidney Burns, Sadie Dushman, Sylvia Feldman, Richard Fox, George Frechter, Jack Futernick, Thelma Gerson, Herbert Given, Norman Goldberg, Edith Goldsmith, Rosalind Goldman, Ida Haas, Phyllis Hayden, Sal Horowitz, Pauline Israel, Sidney Joseph Kern, Alice Kussman, Israel Laboritz, Marion Levy, Edward Leaf, Evelyn Ruth Miller, Rose Moore, Nathan Myers, Paul Pascal, Marjorie Green Patterson, Murray Plotnick, Herbert Poncher, Mel Presser, Ethel Price Shapiro, Miriam Raymer, Edward Rosenthal, Carol Ross, Lise Rothman, Henrietta Schneider, Ernie Schneider, Benedicta Schragen, Jay Schwab, Jeanette Shapiro, Marvin Sheldon, Isidore, Jack Silver, Scott Simons, Leon Singer, Alan Solomon, Arthur Wagner, Fred Wall, Dorothy Wellens, David Wertheim, Dana Whitman, and Shirley Seslowski. If anyone else is observing yahrzeit. Thank you for your mom. The mourner's cottage can be found in our prayer books on page 64, and those who wish may join with us as we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agalav izman kari v'imramein. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'me'omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, Yitzadar v'yitzalev v'yitzalal shemei dekudisha brechu. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'miran bi'alma v'imramein. Yehei shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. May be seated as we join together in a tune we all know.
It actually may be a tune we all know. It's not the one we usually do here, but I had a different Adon Olam tune in mind tonight.
Okay, raise your hand when you don't know it.
It actually is one that was written to be an Adon Olam tune,
Okay.
unlike many other times
Right.
we do. Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'ein nasa b'chefso kol azai melech shemo. I told you, Kra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora vehu haya vehu hoveh vehu yiyeh betipara vehu echad ve'ein sheni lehamshilo lehachbira bli reshit bli tachlit velo ha'oz ve'hamisra vehu eili ve'chai gali ve'tzorchem li be'ein sara vehu nisi umanos li menat kosi beyom ekra beyado avkid ruchi be'eit zishan me'aira ve'im ruchi geviyati Adonai li velo ira.
You all know that version from the jazz singer when Neil Diamond sang it at the end of the show. We all rise for a closing blessing. Adonai oz li'amo yatein, Adonai v'recha tamo v'shalom. May the Lord grant strength to his people. Bless all peoples with peace.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avot.
Shabbat shalom. And we have wine and challah outside.
Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom.